We are now live on Zoom and live on YouTube. So thank you for attending our new webinar. I hope you had all a safe 4th of July weekend and some fun despite the situation. My name is Jean-Baptiste Piron, and together with Alain Charbonnier, we are co-founder of the Belgian Business Club in Los Angeles. For those of you who don't know our club yet, we help Belgian entrepreneurs and executives to connect with the right professionals in the regions to stimulate business and enable networking. So today we will talk about immigration and travel topics that affects us all, unfortunately. In the past weeks, we saw a lot of changes in the regulations that enable us to work, study, and travel and basically move freely between the US and Europe. And with the recent development of the regulation and the travel ban in the world, we wanted to bring you a view on the current situation, the possible future changes, and since this is very emotional topic, give you a clear facts on what is possible to do for you. We have participants from all over the US and from Europe today. Thank you very much. And we receive a lot of questions in advance. We will do our best to cover most of your inquiries during the talk. And some situations are more complex than others. So if you feel that your questions were not totally covered, you will be able to contact our experts after the session. The contact details will be provided on our last slide. But let's jump to the program today. So joining us from all California, I'm very happy and honored to welcome the panelists. Lorraine D'Alessio first. Lorraine is an immigration attorney and has a great team of very talented people, including people here on this webinar, helping a lot of immigrants and non-immigrants with a range of visas and with a specialty on E2 and O1 visa. Solange Kassianoff, who will join us by audio today because we had some technical video issues, sorry for that. Solange is Deputy Consul General of Belgium here in Los Angeles. The consulate is helping Belgians and non-Belgians on consular affairs in 13 states and 2 territories from Guam to Colorado. Alain Missoul. Alain is the president of the Belgian SoCal Club of Southern California, and the club is organizing great events all over the year for Belgium and France. And Pierre Smith. Pierre is like Alain, president of a Belgian club, but the one of Northern California. Both are living in the US since a long time and are animating the Belgian community in California. Thank you all for your time and flexibility for our attendees. We will start to cover the US visa and travel restriction with Lorraine. Then we will continue with Solange for the European travel restriction. Alain and Pierre will also inform you on their activities for the local Belgian community. After each keynote of Lorraine and Solange, we will have a Q&A session. If you have questions that are not covered in the presentation, you may use the Q&A chat box if you are connected on Zoom. We will ask to our expert your questions. For those who follow us on YouTube Live, do not hesitate to reach us by email after the session if you still have questions. So we'll start with Lorraine. Lorraine, the floor is yours. Lorraine, we cannot hear you. Your mic is off.
Okay.
Yeah,
bonjour.
it's good.
Bonjour, it's such a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you so much for having me and D'Alessio Law Group. Well, there's been quite a bit of movement in US immigration currently, so I think I will just jump right in. But we are an award-winning immigration law firm, one of the top in the country, and so happy to help you. We have a particular expertise with Belgium and also Western Europe coming into the US back and forth. So, all right. President Trump announced a proclamation on April 23rd that temporarily blocked the issuance of green cards to foreign nationals that are outside of the United States, but includes several exceptions. So I think what I will do in this presentation is really kick off with some of the current changes that we're seeing in immigration, and then also go over some of the very commonly used visa types for people that are coming in from Belgium or already in the United States and maintaining their status. So, so the proclamation as of April 23rd, it was really shocking, of course, for the international community when this was absorbed, as we weren't quite sure exactly from the tweet what this meant, as he talked about canceling all of immigration. In fact, if you are a legal expert, you know that the president really does not have that power. With the system of checks and balances in the US Constitution, it is virtually impossible for the president to cancel immigration. So, so what indeed did he do? So he really was focused on the first, April 23rd, on blocking the issuance of green cards for foreign nationals that are outside the United States. So those would be people that had not maintained another non-immigrant visa working status or any other type of status in the US that would allow them to go back and forth to and fro, or to be currently in the United States while they adjust to the green card. So it would be those from outside. However, the interesting thing about this first order is that people are actually already blocked from coming into the United States anyway, because the consulates and the embassies are closed. So if you are doing a green card process, you are required from outside, you are required to do an interview from outside. And so this is, it's quite an interesting order, since the temporary blockage, the people were already blocked anyway. So, so this is interesting to take note of, and also on the lack or the impact or the lack of the impact, since they already were impacted. Anyway, President Trump then renewed his proclamation on June 22nd, that's the last week Monday, with additional extensions onto that order, blocking now, this time, certain visa classifications, and that included restrictions onto H-1B, H-2B, L-1, and J-1, with a long list of exceptions actually as well. And so what he's was actually really targeting is that if the foreign national, if those that are outside of the United States did not have any other type of status keeping them into the United States, that there would be restrictions that would be applied to them in terms of being able to enter the United States and work on the H-1B, H-2B, L-1, and J-1. So, however, at the same time, this order will be reevaluated every 60 days. And from what we can definitely see from the current administration, there is so much change and a lot of political rhetoric as well, and fear mongering for the immigration community. And so it is likely to change as well. So even though right now the rhetoric is indeed that there are going to be restrictions, and indeed we have the order, there very well could be modifications onto this. If you are currently in the United States on an active work visa, or are a permanent resident green card holder currently in the United States, those restrictions do not apply to you. Also, as a foreign national who had planned on entering in 2021 on an H-1B, who perhaps was a beneficiary of the lottery for H-1B this year, unfortunately, those H-1B visa those H-1B candidates would not be able to likely look at entering this year for October 1st. However, that doesn't mean that they've lost their spot. It just means that currently it is on hold. So then we could be definitely looking at reevaluating this for the coming months. So we have to stay tuned. The diversity lottery is also suspended, and those are 50,000 green cards that are available to foreign nationals around the world, to countries with really low immigration to the United States. But many people apply every year for that, but unfortunately, currently it is suspended. Also, I will move on to Routine visa services at all US embassies and consular posts are suspended as of March 20th, but are being slowly now reopened in certain field offices, asylum cases as well, for non-emergency services. This is really key because for anyone who is looking at entering, say, for example, you've begun an E1 or an E2 visa, which is not affected by the President's proclamations orders, you could actually start initiating your interview and entering the United States. USCIS also continues to process visas. So those are the service centers from within the United States and perform really their duties that do not involve contact or in-person appointments. But actually, as of June 5th, we are seeing the opening now of in-person meetings and even hearings for the courts. And so we're starting indeed now to see that reopening even for the service centers internally in the US. So including renewals, ESTA, visa waiver program, B1, B2 visas, you can indeed look at doing an extension onto that status, even though traditionally ESTA, the visa waiver program, has never permitted extensions. Our firm actually has received even up to 3 extensions onto ESTA due to impact on COVID. And it's really important to be able to show that nexus of how you have been affected by COVID, if that is indeed your travel or even medical. And we definitely expect possible closings again, dependent on new COVID updates. But as of right now, this is the status. Also, the entry of individuals who were present in China, Iran, European Schengen area, so very relevant to our conversation today and those in the audience, the UK, Ireland, and Brazil during the last 14-day period will not be allowed to enter the United States, and this has been suspended. However, what that means is that you could be traveling to a non-Schengen country there for at least 14 days and then permitted to enter the United States. And that is certainly what people have been doing. US citizens and permanent residents are exempt from these travel restrictions, and non-immigrant holders are still subject to restrictions based on country. So the US and Mexican border, so some people may consider, well, what if I were to travel to Canada or Mexico and come through this way? But unfortunately, the US border with Canada and Mexico is also closed to non-essential travel until at least mid-July. So citizens are allowed to return. Citizens are really the ones that are allowed to return home to their home countries, but there are indeed restrictions because of that closure until mid-July. So I would also say that in terms of the exceptions, going back to President Trump's proclamation and his most updated proclamation as of June 22nd, sorry. These restrictions really apply to foreign nationals that are currently in the process of pursuing the H-1B, H-2B, J-1, or L-1, and are currently outside the United States. So if you are currently in the United States through a previous H-1B, a non-agricultural worker, H-2B, L-1, J-1, this news really does not apply to your current status, though it could potentially for future petitions. The news does not affect green card holders, lawful permanent residents of the United States, their spouses, children of a U.S. citizen, and really any foreign national that is seeking to enter the United States to provide temporary labor or services essential to the United States food supply chain, or foreign professionals whose entry would be in the national interest. So this is including those that are providing essential services during COVID, as well medical services that are exempt, physicians, nurses, other healthcare professionals, and those seeking to perform medical research as well to combat COVID. So it does indeed target this latest extension on the order, particularly those that are the recipients of the H-1B and find themselves outside and were planning to come in. I also find that who it affects are people that unfortunately have already been impacted by COVID, and so were not able to file in time their L-1 visa, or perhaps their their H-1B, maybe due to their restrictions in travel for themselves or their restrictions just generally speaking. And so, so unfortunately, those consultations and those that we talk to on a daily basis, these are the two groups that we note have been most affected. However, we also do note that companies, founders, CEOs have been very good about getting in touch with us, and we are strategizing on other options to keep their teams together, retain their teams. And for those that are of specialized knowledge or essential to their team and retaining their group, there have been other options to look at. And I list out on this slide several options, the O1, the E1, the E2 visa, and I'm going to go through each one and what they essentially mean. If you have been affected by the US visa restrictions, it would be prudent really to pursue alternatives and sometimes multiple really immigration strategies at the same time. The O1A visa is for individuals with an extraordinary ability in the sciences, education, business, tech, or athletics. I also just wanted to check before I get into the details of this okay, good, perfect. You can see that. Perfect. Okay. So a lot of people get quite confused as to what the O1 visa even is. Those that read the regulations tend to feel that the O1 is reserved for people that are at the very, very top of their field, that small percentage, and they may not, ever be eligible, or it could take them, many years to become available and, to become eligible. So, but that is really, if you really look at in practice how this visa has actually rolled out and the types of candidates have been able to achieve this visa over the years, you're really looking at a distinction that people have in the field, that there's something about them that has caused them to stand out as per others in the field, something niche. And this could be in business, it could be in entertainment, it could be in technology. And so then it becomes a little bit less intimidating. And when you actually look at the criteria for the extraordinary ability, you see that this is really digging into what the professionals have as per their portfolios, what kind of articles that they've published, have they been attached to any patents, have they been a part of any memberships or associations that require outstanding achievement to be members of them, have they been invited to them, have they spoken on panels or conferences, and suddenly I find that for a lot of consultations that I do for people that are, executives and founders and CEOs, or those that are within an organization but highly specialized in what they do, many of them actually qualify and don't even realize that they do. And what's really nice about the O1 visa is that you can actually apply for it at any time of year, unlike that H-1B visa, which is for degreed professionals that are coming in to do a degree type job. And there's really a very small window for that filing, which is April 1st. Every year, and there's less than 30% chance of even getting them. That doesn't mean that companies don't try to get the H-1B for, and put their employees on that track. And it definitely has been an important HR strategy for many very prudent HR directors. But it's really good to also try out the O1 to see whether they might qualify, even filing multiple petitions at the same time. And if they do, then they're on a 3-year renewable track for a working permit, and can be renewed indefinitely. So it is a good one to take a look at, and this has been processing just fine with USCIS the entire time. And if you have an O1 visa and the stamp and the passport, you can travel to and from the United States, even with all the COVID, extra, checks that we have in place. Also, what's not been affected by, and I would say that the administration has been quite vocal about supporting a merits-based immigration system, which extraordinary ability is very very first and foremost on that, and that's why, indeed, I would say that we probably haven't seen them tamper at all with it. No movements. A couple of years back, there were about 73,000 applications just in 1 year, actually, that was processed. So that's important to note. As well, we had earlier this year, when COVID first hit, of course, that Trump made it quite clear that he's here to support also the investor community too. And we see that as, with this order, he has not touched the E1 and the E2 visa, which of course Belgium citizens know very well about. And this is really for an opportunity to set up a new office in the United States or extend your company into the US, but it's not required to have anything functioning in the home country. And what's quite interesting about the e-visa is it requires a very low threshold of investment. It tends to be about 100 to 150,000 for that principal investor, or if there's two principal investors to come in and get set up. And then even it provides the option of registering the company at the consulate level and to be able to transfer in other employees into the US. So it's great that this one has not been touched. And there are even expedite options available that, within even a week, one can turn around an e-visa. And there's a couple of ports that allow you to actually do this. So, and I would also say what's quite interesting about the administration not, keep protecting this option is that there are with COVID, there's a lot of people that are entrepreneurs tend to be thinking about new business ideas, looking at the challenges that COVID presents, and then developing new businesses that could respond to the changes in the market. And so, the E1 is really the E2 visa is in particular speaks to the opportunity to really set up that new office and get things moving with a business plan. An economic development program, if you will, even though that could be at a very small level or a medium or large. So I think that this is quite good for the community. This is positive news, and it definitely shows that the administration really has no intention to slow that processing down at all. So I just wanted to note that the extraordinary abilities route does have a green card route attached as well. And if you in fact satisfy the criteria for the O1, you can even look at further building the application with even just an additional 4 criteria, which you don't have to all have. Every single one of them, but at least some, that you can actually even go for the permanent green card route as well. There's also the EB1C, and this could be quite helpful for those that are owning companies, or an executive in the company, or manager in a company, supervisor in a company, that you could be going straight for the green card as well. And what's so great about the EB1A extraordinary ability, EB1C, is that these can be through intracorporate transfer, is that these can be processed in a year to a year and a half. There has been some backlog. However, it's a great way to quickly get that processed and not be subject to very long wait times via the visa bulletin that comes out regularly. So the L1, as we have talked about, is currently experiencing a hold right now due to the administration's order, but the EB1C has not. So you could actually begin that green card process and take steps to protect yourself should there be any further changes, but we don't think so in terms of the investor route. So I know this was a very quick overview, and I talked really quickly about all of the updates, all of the major updates that we are seeing. There's one really big one that I didn't spend much time, I didn't spend time talking about, but I do want to briefly close with, and that is the Supreme Court's ruling on DACA, which is for the Dreamers. These are for those that entered the country illegally as young children. and have been in the United States for a certain amount of time, that the Supreme Court has ruled that the administration cannot they cannot be canceled, that this program cannot be canceled, and that their attempt to cancel it was in fact unreasonable and goes against the U.S. Constitution. And I just want to take a moment to highlight it, because the decision itself may or may not actually affect this community that is listening in right now to this webinar. It could, for yourselves personally, but you could have people on your team that are dreamers. But I think that what we take away from that ruling from the Supreme Court is that immigration is here to stay. And the reason why it is here to stay is because we have a system of checks and balances. And we do not have a system where the president can just with one tweet, go about taking away important avenues for people to enter the United States, operate in the United States, do business with the United States, and protect their business interests. So I would say that it's quite it's something that people should definitely be recognized and feel encouraged about. I certainly felt very, very happy that I acquired U.S. citizenship through. Anyway, but I do would like for anyone who has case-specific questions to please reach out to us on a consultation basis. We are so happy to help. And thank you so much for the time that I've had today to speak with you.
Thank you so much, Lorraine, and thank you for your quick but very complete overview of the situation. And don't leave us because we have a lot of questions. Sure. And I would like Pierre from the Belgian Club of Northern California to ask the first question he received previously by email. If you are ready, Pierre, to ask Lorraine the question you received, if you don't mind.
Yes, I'm ready. Good afternoon. How are you doing?
Good.
I have the question here is from Frederick. He is saying the following: I'm a professor from Namur, and I have been in Davis since the late February on a 6-month sabbatical with a G1 visa. Unfortunately, the pandemic happened and we decided to stay away. We decided to stay anyway because we have not the opportunity to come back next year. In the past few weeks, I have been contacting people at the embassy and other acquaintances regarding my son. He is supposed to come visit us in July on the 8th. It has been postponed from the Easter holiday already. He is 14 years old and it's been 4 months I haven't seen him. As the ban from the EU visitors has not been lifted yet, we are looking for the best advices to make decision on his coming this week. Any help and advices will be appreciated.
Yes, of course. So I would recommend that he actually contact me directly and we have a fuller, at least 20 to 30 minute conversation about his situation, because there's a lot in there that should be addressed. That's very, very case specific. So I will start off by saying that. But in terms of his son and being able to see his son, obviously coming through a non-Schengen country is definitely absolutely an option. Which country, which port, how he does it, and what if he might have a B1, B2 or currently access to ESTA are all questions that need to be asked in that conversation. So I would say that there is definitely options. However, we would want to have a one-on-one on that one. Yeah.
Thank you, Pierre. Thank you, Lorraine. I have a lot of questions in the Q&A box. I will try to cover the majority of them. So please excuse us if we cannot address all the questions, and you will be able to contact Lorraine separately after. So I have a question from Mathieu. He's currently in Belgium and he's looking for an unpaid internship in the US for the period September to December. He's an international student in business. Do you think that it will be possible to do that internship in September or not?
Well, currently, I need to know currently what what is currently his status at the present time? Do we know? Is he a visitor or?
I think he's currently in Belgium, so I don't
Okay.
think he has a status in the US right now.
So internships come under the J1 visa, and so the J1 is the internship visa. So so interns and trainees. Unfortunately, that is subject to the order, Trump's order, where he is putting things on hold there. However, it's not forever, it's just temporary. We should certainly talk with him, because there could actually be another option for him outside of the J1. And if I had his resume or his LinkedIn, I could certainly go over what those would be.
Thank you. I have another question related from Sabrina. I might have missed it, but my husband has a J2 visa for the period 2020, but could not join me fast enough in the USA. I've been under my J1 visa since January, and we wanted to know if he will be able to cross the border if he boarded the plane.
Okay, so I need to check his passport and look at his stamp and make sure that he's the stamp is valid and that is all fine. The issue will be, the bigger issue will be, is that the fact that he spent the last 14 days in a Schengen country. So that has not been lifted, so he would not be able to come straight through. So it would be go to a non-Schengen country, quarantine there, and then come in. So but again, this is very case specific guidance, which would require a consultation. Yeah.
Okay, something linked as well. Any updates on when F1 visa interviews at embassies around the world will go ahead, hopefully before fall 2020?
Indeed, hopefully. We have definitely had reports. I've had reports from our clients actually indicating that, and we certainly have been involved in some scheduling as well, that the interviews are being scheduled, but in terms of them actually occurring yet, that is yet to be reported. But the DS-160 applications to go ahead and begin the application process have indeed been initiated.
Okay, thank you. And the last one received in the Q&A box before we are moving to the European topic. What about the visa I, the media visa? I'm outside the US right now, but I need to be back soon in California. Can I cross the border without the actual travel ban? With the media visa, the I visa.
And what country are they currently residing in?
Belgium.
Yeah. So again, that 14-day issue is an issue, but the I visa, there are currently no restrictions on that visa. So if it's already obtained and the visa is already there, then that should not be an issue.
Okay, thank you so much.
Again, I would really highly encourage, before any travel is made into the US, that you speak with an immigration expert, and I would be happy to help.
Yeah, definitely. And we will share the contact details of Lorraine and all the panelists at the end of the session. And Alain, do you have any question coming from Southern California, Belgium community or not?
So one of the questions is, one of our members has a U.S. visa, a U.S. passport and a Belgian passport. They have dual nationality. Are there any travel restrictions for them at all, going to Europe and coming back?
No, only the 14-day issue for Schengen countries. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we might have some other questions coming in for US visa and travel restriction. So as I said, I recommend to reach out to Lorraine separately. And now we will move to the Consul General of Belgium, Consulate General of Belgium. And Solange will give us an overview of what's happening currently in Europe, basically in Belgium, but all over in Europe. So Solange, are you there?
Yes, thank you, Jean-Baptiste.
We will pass your slide right now. So just
all right. So hello, everyone. Thank you for the invitation to participate in this webinar. Sorry that we cannot see each other. The technique decided something else, but so I'm going to speak to you, and I will be happy to clarify who is able to travel to Belgium from the US at the moment. I will speak to you about the temporary travel restriction due to COVID-19, which is still in place in Europe, and the European Council recommendation that European member states adopted on June 30th, and that allows countries from the EU and Schengen zone to allow non-essential travel from 14 countries outside the EU as of the 1st of July. So as you already knew, the US is not part of the list, but you have to know that this list was drawn up based on objective criteria related to the epidemiological situation and containment measures, and that due to the rapid evolution of the pandemic, this list will be reviewed every 15 days. So to make things easier, let's agree that when speaking about EU, it also includes the Schengen associated countries, which are Switzerland, Norway, Iceland, and Liechtenstein, and we will call the rest third countries, if you don't mind. I would also wish to add that even though the United Kingdom left the EU end of January this year, it remains bound by EU rules, as we are still in a transition period that will normally run until the end of 2020. So they are still considered as EU citizens. It's a bit confusing because there are some EU states that are not part of the Schengen area. I will not go into details, but you have to know that border controls with non-Schengen countries have been strengthened. So, for instance, a US citizen traveling through the UK or Croatia will have to comply with the essential travel criteria to be able to enter Belgium. So we will see the entire list later on of the defined essential criteria. So what I can tell you that in addition to this list of 14 countries, the list of travelers with an essential function or need who are allowed to travel despite the restrictions has been broadened to 3 categories. The first one, and I think is the most relevant one or interesting one for a lot of people, is EU citizens and third country national legally staying in the EU, as well as their respective family members, whether they return home or not. While before, the exception for EU citizens and their family members and third country nationals was limited to the purposes of returning to their homes. The second category is third country nationals traveling for the purpose of study, and the third category, highly qualified third country workers if their employment is necessary from an economic perspective and the work cannot be postponed or performed abroad. So now I will tell you what we exactly mean by family member as defined in a European Commission directive. So the family members are the spouse, the partner with whom a registered partnership has been officially contracted. So I'm very sorry we received a lot of questions about my fiancé, my girlfriend, boyfriend. This will not be possible. So the direct descendants also who are under the age of 21 or are still dependents, and the dependent directly relatives in the ascending line. So please note that when traveling, the family members must be able to demonstrate their relationship to the EU family member with official documentation, like, for instance, a marriage or a birth certificate. This will be required. Since the start of the pandemic, Belgian citizens and holders of residence permit for Belgium have been allowed to travel back to Belgium, and this will continue, of course, to be the case. So what, in practical terms, what is changing from the 1st of July 2020? The Belgian government made a cautious start towards this reopening. In this initial stage, And until further notice, Belgium makes no distinction between these 14 countries and the others, as practical modalities are still under development. This means that the visa activity is limited to the categories of travelers with an essential function or need. And I don't know if you can see on the slide, there are 11 categories. I will not name them all, but you can see that they are all there. And our consulate general and the other Belgian consular missions in the US started accepting visa application for those categories that are exempt from the travel restriction. So also for the time being, visa application for the purpose of family reunification can be submitted again, but we do not have the green light yet to deliver any visa in this framework. So I would like also to point out that upon arrival, there is also a 14-day quarantine that must be respected. And there is also a form that people will have to fill in. It's a document that you have to fill in before you board. This document is called Public Health Passenger Locator Form, and it is considered really a condition for entry. So this form should be given to the border officer at your point of entry in Belgium. In this form, there are several information like, so you have to provide an address where you are going to quarantine, a telephone number, the details of your flights, the seats that you occupy during the flight, and so on. Yeah, and that's about it. I would like to conclude by saying that travelers are in any case advised to inform themselves well in advance of each trip about the measures to be taken in the country of destination, because it's still possible that some countries impose measures such as a COVID test or a quarantine. So please contact your airline and the embassy of the countries you will be transiting through. If you are traveling to Belgium through a neighboring country, you have to check which exact documentation is required to travel or to cross borders. If your travel is not really needed, I would recommend to be cautious because it's still very complicated. There are still flights that are being cancelled. So please take all known precautionary measures so that you can travel in the safest possible way.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you,
That
Solange.
would be my advice.
Yeah, thank you so much, Solange. I would like to add as well, if you have non-essential travel to do, don't do that. Please refrain to do that. It's better to stay where you are right now if you don't need to travel. And as a general rule, I think it's better. We have a lot of questions, even more than Lorraine. And we receive a lot of questions in advance by email. And I would like for Lorraine to start with Pierre, who has received from the Club of Northern California some questions for Solange.
Solange, we have a question from Roger. He is asking, we were supposed to go to Belgium in March, but our flight were canceled because of the virus. We're hoping to be able to go later this year, September or October. Do you have any idea if this will be possible? Do we have to do anything in order to be able to travel? I do my medical follow-ups in Belgium still, normally twice a year, but I would like to do it at least once a year, and I have a dual citizenship.
So dual citizenship, US and Belgium?
Yes.
So yes, of course, Belgian citizens have always been able to go back to Belgium, and they won't, even if he doesn't have his residence there. There is no problem about that, as long as he's with his Belgian passport, there will be no problem.
Okay. I have another question from Stephen. My wife is off to Belgium. She just left yesterday. I want to join her in about a month. So my questions are related to my trip. Can a non-Belgian citizen or non-Belgian resident travel to Belgium to reunite with a family member? And if so, can this person be a US citizen or resident and or must be a European citizen or a resident of an approved country? What document do I need to present to the airline, or how do I obtain this? This concern is that the airline will not know all the rules and may incorrectly deny boarding.
Mm-hmm.
For your information, the wife is Belgian, US, and New Zealand citizen, and the husband is a US and New Zealand citizen.
Yeah, so it's not the nationality, it is the residence in the third country which determine the lifting of the temporary restriction. So yes, you will see that in those 11 categories, there is the family member as defined in the European Commission directive that says that the third country national can join the EU citizen.
Okay.
So it is part of the exception. It would be accepted. But then what you would have to present is a marriage certificate. Apart from that, yeah, any useful documentation can be brought. But I think it is really important is to contact the airlines before, of course, because about all those interpretation, we don't know if there won't be any problem. You have to be cautious and check this in advance.
One of the things he mentioned is that the marriage certificate does not include the citizenship.
No, but he has the passport, and then it's not the citizenship. He's coming from the U.S. He is here in the U.S. So to be able to go to Belgium, he doesn't have to prove his citizenship. He has to prove the citizenship of the spouse. And so the passport, a copy of the passport, that would be enough. And with the marriage certificate, it will be the proof that he is married to this person.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. We have some questions we received live, Solange. So one question from an anonymous attendee. Does Belgium have any plans to allow mail-in applications for Belgian Schengen visas once tourism restarts? With COVID and the world going global, it is a lot of trouble for tourists like myself to go to the consulate to submit my application. So it's more like regarding organization. So there is any plan for the Belgian consulate in the US and around the world to allow mail-in application for visas?
So we mainly receive visa application by mail to avoid contacts, but this is only possible for long-term visa. For a short-term visa, if this person comply with or is part of the 11 categories, this person will have to come because for short stay visa, you need to appear and give your biometrics unless you had a prior visa application in the last 3 years, I think. That would be, yeah, you should contact us in advance and we would see how we could organize it.
Okay.
It's a case by case.
Yeah, sure. We have another question from Antoine, and I think I will answer to it. Otherwise, you will add something, Solange. Do we need to contact the Belgian consulate in California to get authorization to travel to Europe? I would say if you are Belgian, of course not, because you can, of course, enter into your country
Sure.
at time. So it depends on your nationality and your status, of course. So we will need some more information about that. I have another question. It's linked to the health more. Is it possible to get tested for COVID-19 4 days after landing in Belgium and shorten the 2-week quarantine if we are traveling for a family emergency?
Well, there are some exceptions when you travel for emergencies, like a disease. It's considered essential, and we know that, for instance, someone who would travel to attend a funeral would not have, of course, to quarantine. He would be able to attend, but will not be able to gather with the people, and then he will have to respect the quarantine. So there are some exceptions about this, but I would have to know, of course, the reason, the emergency reason.
We have another question from Eva. I'm a Belgian living in the US with a green card, and my husband is US citizen. I understand that we are allowed to travel to Belgium now to take care of family matters. However, did I understand correctly that we will not be allowed back in the US unless we first spend 14 days in a non-Schengen country?
As it was already answered, they can come back, I think, with a green card, and they will have to respect the quarantine. So I don't really understand the question. So
Eva, if you have more questions, reach out to the consulate. I think it would be better to explain your exact situation.
This is what makes everything very complicated, because you have to quarantine on your way out and on your way back. So it makes things very difficult.
We have also a question regarding visa, the D-type visa. So only specific type of single permit workers are being issued a D visa. Can you share more on this aspect? What are the differences, and when can the other types of single permit types of workers be able to receive their visa?
Yes, so it's only at the moment for highly qualified third country workers, as noted in the list. So it depends really. We have, it's very recent. I received the information today that we have a special code. When we receive the copy of the single permit, this code will tell us if we can issue the visa or if we have to postpone.
Okay. We have another question. Sorry, Solange, there was a question.
Okay.
From David. Just a moment. We are living in the US, have a Belgian passport. Are there any issues with traveling to the UK for a sabbatical? The spouse of David is a professor who will perform our research in Scotland.
Well, I would prefer not to answer to that question. I would just advise them to directly address themselves to the UK authorities.
Yes,
I would not take the responsibility, yes.
Sure. Just a moment, I check the question we have. I think it's a very, the question was answered before, but a question from Olivier. I'm a Belgian citizen staying in the US with residence in Belgium. Can I travel with my wife, a US citizen, to Belgium? We are married in the US.
So yes,
yeah.
This is a yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. A question on the type D visa as well. Let me read it first. I sent my type D visa application at the Belgian Consulate General in New York in March. I got my work permit to be an au pair study French at a language school, but am I still not considered an exception as a student or worker? Do you know when type D visa will begin again?
Au pair, I would have to see the documentation if she's a student? What kind of student is this? This is a bit difficult to answer without the details. I would say yes, we have to assess that kind of application.
Sure. A question related to L1 visa. I think it's more for Lauren. I sent this question to you. Yeah, we are a Belgian family living in the US on L1 visa. Can we go to Belgium to visit family? And more important, can we return to the US after the visits?
I didn't hear the last part of the question, but the first part of the question is absolutely. You can leave, but I would not recommend it right now. I would not recommend leaving. I would recommend staying. So whatever the reasons are for leaving, I'd want to talk with them about. Again, they're revising these rules like every 60 days. So I think, better be on the conservative side. What is the second part of the question?
Can we go to Belgium to visit family? And more important, can we return to the US for the whole family after the visit? And they are all under L1 visa.
Yes, yes, you can. Always, the Immigration Council should be looking at the reciprocity, but knowing that it's quite long between the treaty relationship reciprocity between the US and Belgium. The stamps and the passport should be valid, but I'd want to actually look at them myself, because if they are not, or they've run out, or there's any issue with them, then they have to make a stop at the embassy before they come back in. So it's not an issue to do that. It just adds an extra layer of, wait time there, because the embassies, of course, are closed, are reopening, but reopening very slowly. So it's not that they can't come back. It's just that if the stamps are not valid currently, they'll have to wait to get the interview before they come in. But they're likely still valid because of the very long reciprocity relationship between Belgium and the US.
Okay, Lauren, but they do need to spend 14 days outside the...
Exactly. And then, as I've mentioned in the previous, yes, so, that still holds. So I'd want to know how long they want to be in Belgium for, what the reasons are, and, the timelines. So then, so this would definitely be something that I would recommend be a one-on-one consultation.
Sure. Solange, I have another question for you. I contacted the Belgian consulate to get a long-term Schengen visa for my wife. The consulate said they were not issuing any visa right now. My wife had her biometry done last year. Can the visa be issued with the biometrics that she gave last year? And he's a Belgian and US citizen, the guy.
Mm-hmm. So, yes, the biometrics would be still in our system. The thing is that we have no permission to deliver visa for reunification, family reunification. So the spouse would be able to travel, but for a maximum of 3 months. As you know, U.S. citizens don't need a visa to go to Belgium when it is for a period less than 90 days. I don't know about trying on the spot to regularize. How do I say this? Regularize this the situation. But normally, we always advise people. We used to, before this crisis, to advise people to travel on a D visa, because sometimes the whole procedure can be over those 90 days, and you don't want to be in a country where you are not supposed to. So I know now, of course, there are some different procedures, and people who are stranded, they can ask for a prolongation of their visa when they are in Belgium. This I don't know how it happens exactly. So we will not be able to deliver a D visa, but the person would be able to travel as a family member of a EU citizen.
Okay, and now I have two questions regarding the C visa. I will group them. I started my request for a C visa. How long might it take before it's approved? Once I get it, can I enter Belgium coming from the US?
I didn't really, what type of visa?
C like Charlie.
Okay. So a C visa can be delivered in a couple of days or a week. Of course, now we will have, I think, all of a sudden a lot of work. So I would say 10 days maximum. Of course, this person must be must be part of the 11 categories defining essential function or need. So it would be for 3 months, 90 days. A C visa is for 3 months. Yes, that's it.
Okay, and I have another part, another question, but still regarding C visa. So my fiancé is a Belgian national and I'm from the US. We have been separated for 5 months now. We have been together for the last 5 years and I've been traveled the world together. In that time, I lived in Brussels as I went to the university and I wish to go to Belgium to be together. So can I apply for a cohabitation visa type C like Charlie?
Yes.
I will follow all the COVID requirements, obviously.
Unfortunately not. So as defined in the directive of the European Commission, a family member is a partner with a registered partnership. This needs to be official. It's really a contract that you do and that has more or less the same value as a marriage. So if there is nothing, if there is not a registered partnership, there will that will not be possible. There is no cohabitation visa that can be delivered, and you will not be able to travel and try to apply there in Belgium.
Sure. Thank you, Solange. I will move maybe to Alain. Alain, if you have some question from your community, and you can also present what you do here in Southern California with the club.
Thank you. So one question that I have from Dominique is, I became a US citizen prior to the dual nationality being available. Can I reapply for my Belgian citizenship so I can travel freely back to Europe?
Oh, it depends how this person had the Belgian nationality and how did he lose it. I would have to get a bit more detail.
Okay, I think it was prior to, I think at one time you couldn't have dual nationality. But I don't think at this point you don't lose your Belgian nationality,
no,
right?
Actually, if a person acquired another nationality after 2007, it was not accepted, so you would lose the Belgian nationality. And now to regain it, you have to be living and be an official resident of Belgium for at least 1 year.
Okay. Next question is, my son was born, I am a Belgian citizen, and my son is 19 years old. Can he still become a Belgian citizen even though he was born in the US?
And so that's the same thing. If the parent was not born in the US, if the parent was born in the US, the son would be automatically Belgian. But if it's not the case, then the son would be able to ask for the Belgian citizenship, but from Belgium. He would have to be a resident of Belgium to apply.
Okay. And the last thing, so the Belgian Club of Southern California, we have multiple events throughout the year, most of the time social events. Again, due to the COVID-19, we're kind of very limited. We actually had a concert with a local a performance group called Paris Chanson. About a month ago, we had about 230 people show up for the concert. Again, it's a Zoom concert, and we're doing another one together with the Belgian Club. Actually, it's going to be sponsored by the Belgian Club of Chicago on July 17th at 5:30 Pacific time. Anybody wants to join, just send us an email or look for the invitation on Belgian Club SoCal on Facebook and or Instagram. That's it. Thank you so much for your attending.
Thank you, Alain. Pierre, maybe you can present the Club of the North, maybe.
Yes, I have one more question if I can.
Sure.
This is a question from Antoine. His family is the father is a Belgian citizen, the wife is a U.S. citizen, the child is a U.S. citizen and Belgian, and then the second child is only a U.S. citizen. They live in California and they want to move for 1 year in Barcelona as a work for his company. What type of process does he need to go through? So it's going to Barcelona, but it's a Belgian and a U.S. family.
Yes, I will not be able to answer this. I would ask them to address themselves directly to the Spanish authorities and check with them directly.
Okay, thank you. So the Belgian Club of Northern California, it's also a social club, just like the Southern California. And we do a lot of activities like the New Year celebration or the 4th of July, I'm sorry, the 21st of July, that's going to happen on the 19th. This year we have been very limited due to COVID-19. And we're planning on, we have had a couple of events with webinar, Zoom conferences, and we're going to have more of those for right now. One including is on the 19th of July. Right now, the future, we're waiting to see what's going to happen. We usually have other events like the celebration of the King's Day. We have afternoon on a Sunday afternoon at the beach, tasting oysters of Northern California, and many other events. But right now we kind of stuck at home. So that's pretty much what we do. Any information is at BCNC for Belgian Club of Northern California, bcnc.com. Any questions, you can always send it to pierre@bcnc.com or board@bcnc.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pierre. Thank you all. Before wrapping up this session, I would like to thank your audience today coming from all the US and in Belgium as well. And thank your panelists. We had a great time with you. We had a lot of questions and we hope you had an informative time. You will have the contact details on this slide if you want to engage more with us. Our next webinar will take place at the end of the month and will be featuring Stephen Chung, President of the World Trade Center of Los Angeles. And we will have as well the Trade Commissioner of our 3 regions in Belgium. And we will talk about economy and in the region of Southern California and the good place of Belgium in this economy. So the webinar of today will be available in replay very soon, and we will get an email from us with the recap, the contact details, and a link to subscribe to our mailing list. One more thing I would like to add, since the beginning of the crisis, we have published as well a list of Belgian businesses available in Southern California. You will find it on our last posting on our Facebook page. So have a look at the businesses and tell us if you want to add yours on it. I think it's always nice to have a view on what is happening here in California with Belgian owners. Thank you again for joining us. Stay safe, of course, and do not hesitate to reach us on social media or to my personal LinkedIn profile if we can be of any help for your business. Thank you, Solange. Thank you, Laurel. Thank you, Alain. Thank you, Pierre. And thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.